I knew of my layoff from the nation, like between the time I was called and the time I got the letter in hand was a few minutes, you know?
Stop it.
Yeah, it was a few minutes. Like, you're not told, like,
Bro.
Yeah, so I was working, preparing for the bulletin of that day.
You see, you and I have never spoken about this, so when you say it like
That's why we're here.
Listen,
and you know you're the co-host, so you can interview me. So yes, it was shocking. It threw me off, but it happened. That was in November of last year. The phone call came in. Of course, we knew things weren't good in the media industry, but the way it plays out, at least then for us, it was you get a phone call from HR. Hey, you don't normally call me.
Like, what's going on? Yeah.
Yes. And of course, that morning, there was communication of, going through tough times, there will be restructuring. But I'm there, hey, let's keep working, got to have a bulletin tonight. And then when I see a phone call, I'm like, hey, you never call me.
Yeah.
It must be happening. So I put it down first. I put the phone down, face down. And then I took it after like a second call. I said, yeah, I know what this is about. I'm coming. So it was around this time. I get the letter, they break the bad news, throws me off. I tell them, okay, I'll be back to start the clearance process. And then I go back to finish the bulletin. To prepare the bulletin, I produced it, and we managed to have a bulletin on air, and I broke the news to the team on WhatsApp that night, later that night.
That's wild to me.
I thought you knew, though.
I had no idea. I mean, I've worked at Nation and we were also retrenched, but they'd given us a couple of days, So it was like, come for a letter on Wednesday, it was Monday. So by then, you're like, cool.
Yeah, you knew what was happening.
So, but a matter of minutes, that is wild to me.
Yeah.
I think at the BBC it was very different. They had told us that the business was going to be taking a different direction.
Mid last year.
Yes, mid last year. Around like actually May last year is when they were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a digital first approach. And as a result, several roles will be closing. They actually don't say that you guys are going to go. Yeah. They'll say several roles will be closing. But they really hadn't decided which roles would be closing and which ones would be staying open and so on.
So did you feel then, hey, it's coming my way, Ama? You were like,
oh. There's like a sense of denial at the beginning. You're like, nah, no way, digital. Well, I know what I'm doing when it comes to digital, so of course they'll keep me. And then as time progressed and they kept having like these meetings with staff, then that's when the gravity starts to sink in. It's like, yo, this is actually serious. Yeah. Like my neck might be on the chopping block. Like, you have no idea. And then around January is when I got like someone whispered to me, someone in the know told me, hey, Ciru, itabidi uanze kujipanga.
Right.
Like, start to sort yourself out. And then that's essentially what happened.
The show that you were working on went off air.
Yeah, because now the show we were working on closed in December. So we were like, wow, okay. So now things are starting to get real. And then now, when that person whispered in my ear, I was like, okay, instead of sitting around like a sitting duck, let me kind of figure out what's going to happen from that point on.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I will say then there was a lot more humanity in my case than in yours, because listen, I feel like I need to go and fight someone. Who am I going to
You don't need to fight, you don't need to fight. It's just different realities for different people.
Yeah.
But the common thing for both of us, because I was following your story, is how people react, and especially the public. The unfortunate thing, or maybe fortunate, I'll tell you why fortunate for me, is in the public eye. You work in public space, so people know you. When your job is no more, everybody knows about it, and it's their business. And everyone has an opinion about it. This was a redundancy. It was a layoff.
Yeah.
But for me, the surprising thing was how, people would post it as, oh, fired.
Fired, yes.
As if there's something that I did other than be really good at what you do.
The one thing I love about the German language, which I don't speak at all, but one thing I love about the German language is that they have a word for everything. And I'm sure you've heard this word, Schadenfreude. Where it's basically kind of almost enjoying someone else's misfortune.
Oh, right.
So, like what you're talking about, when the news broke and I actually saw the coverage and I saw how really open you were about what had happened as well, where people are like, yeah, he's been fired. So now when it happened to me, I said, Listen, when you're retrenched, you've done nothing wrong. It's not like you found me stuffing company printers into the boot of my car. Like, I wasn't doing anything untoward. I was not running a criminal enterprise out of the office building. So, life happened, and it is what it is. Do you know what I mean?
It's just the harsh reality of the industry.
Yeah.
It's been disrupted.
Exactly, and it's not just the media industry that has been disrupted by this economic times that we're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there are other industries as well when it comes to the tech industry as well. There's been a lot of layoffs in finance as well. Large multinationals are laying off staff quite with alarming frequency.
Right.
And so this is a reality that a lot of people are facing. And you find yourself in a place where you're almost stigmatizing yourself. You're like, yeah, this thing has happened to me. People will stop talking to me. So if I tell them what really happened. So they really sit with this thing that has happened, and it's a massive life change, and it comes with its attendant emotions, and people don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So when it happened, I was like, let's just tell the truth. I got laid off. And even then, even as I was clear about what happened, there were still blogs that said, Ciru fired by the BBC. I'm like, okay, cool. Write whatever you want me, I know what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And so don't feel necessarily bad about a layoff. No shame in it.
There's no shame.
But also to talk about it this way, because now that we're out of the formal working space, there's also no shame in the people who are in the working space. So it's not a conversation of us against them, and now we the hustlers, and nothing political by that word, by the way. We're just the hustlers and the ones who are now really, getting in touch with reality and working hard to make ends meet. There's nothing wrong with those in the working sector.
I love that you have to make that qualification about the word hustler.
You have to, man. These are interesting times that we live in. So, but you get what I mean. That there's no shame in being laid off, but there's also no shame in keeping a job if you're in the working sector.
It's like, lucky you.
Yeah.
And hold on to it for as long as you can. And, because right now, like as you call us hustlers, again, no politics, but you're used to such a level of stability, and I think maybe that us versus them thing also comes from there's a small dose of envy on both sides.
Yes.
Because if you're on my end and you're like, wow, every end month is a salary coming in, so you don't have small heart attacks of when a check is late and you're like, what? You start calling the landlord like, okay, so see what happened was.
So if by you saying that, you agree then, or at least you're open to, if a call comes in and a certain employer is watching this and says, hey, Ciru, we'd like you to come and work with us. We know you're very big on digital content creation and digital media. Are you
Absolutely,
open to it?
For the right price.
I like that. So you're open to calls and the conversations coming in.
I'm open. Hey, call me. We can discuss.
So that